Hey, I'm Decathlon Gamer. Welcome back to F1 Manager. This is episode 94. Next up for us is Australia. Before we get into the race weekend, we have one more upgrade to get rolling out. First off, the rear wing has finished, so we'll have a new rear wing on the car for that Australian Grand Prix. But we're going to work on a new suspension, which uses up the final remaining hours that we have for the current period, which still has a little over a month to go. So it's going to be a while before we get to begin the next wave of upgrades. But this makes it 4, or this will make it. We'll have 4 on the way. That's plenty to come up for a while before we enter that new period. The suspension is our weakest part, though, and you can see where it places grid-wise, and even with it's not substantial time by any stretch of the imagination, but making improvements to the car nonetheless, and yet not changing our position. We are dead last in 4 of 6 categories, and very much towards the tail end in the other 2, and this seems to be making no major headway. But we're adding 1%. We might have to commit a little bit more. We'll see what that does for us. The suspension really does not give much to the car in terms of downforce. It's incredibly small amounts, and even though we are at the tail end of that one, and we'd like to see that improved, committing the extra there does so little, which is part of the reason why I've been able to get a car towards the front end of the grid, is because I'm knowing where to put things. But that airflow does impact a lot more. You can see actually just by improving that airflow, we're gaining a fair bit of acceleration compared to others. But with just 2 areas specialized, we're getting drag reduction by over 2%, and we're adding 2.5 to that airflow, closing in on that 80% threshold. The brake cooling is never going to be a big concern for me. I mean, we're at 79% brake cooling anyway. It really doesn't seem to be making any sort of difference. I haven't really seen anything on the car that suggests the brake cooling or the engine cooling actually matter. They probably do. They probably have something to do with fuel load, or I don't know where is that gonna matter for us, right? How hard you're pushing, how quickly you recover fuel. There's got to be something that it actually impacts. There's got to be, but I haven't really directly seen what it is that it impacts, and so it's very much secondary to me. Doesn't mean I want it to be dead last the whole time, but it's definitely not a priority to see it get the upgrades over something else. You get into this position, it starts to get real easy to forget about those last few upgrades that we're still trying to get into the facilities. Car Park Test Center, perfect timing to do this one. I mean, it's only an additional couple of percent in engine cooling, brake cooling, which we've already noted is not a big important area, but 15 million. We got 35 right now. Yeah, let's go ahead and get that done. That leaves us just 2 plus 2 scouting upgrades still to do. We'll get those last once everything else is done, and really just for the sake of completion. We can actually just about afford the next upgrade as well right now, right off the bat. Suspension simulator, 17 million for that one. It's going to take roughly the same amount of time to get done, and you know what, screw it, let's do it. Let's just get on to the final stages of what we need to do here. So that's 2 of those. The last one here, the factory. Now that's going to take a while, 28 million. We're going to have to recover a lot of money now that we're down to 3 million before we can do that one, but that'll be the next one. First of 4 third round of upgrades for the year is ready, and that's the chassis. It's not going to be ready in time for the car for this next race weekend anyway, and that's okay. I'm not going to rush this one and spend a ton of extra money. We do have a cost cap to deal with, and we've spent a lot already. We are probably totally fine to rush it, but you know what, the car's already in good shape. What's not is my 2 drivers that just keep making mistakes and don't quite live up to the pace that they could have. I need more out of those two, really. That's the expectation this season. I'm giving them the car that can win. Now, can they do it? Last year at Albert Park, we weren't even good enough to get into the points, as last year's points model had us top 8 only. Porsche was 10th, Doohan was 11th, and we were, very much off the pace on that one. And yet only finished 13 seconds behind race winner Lando Norris. So we'll see if this is a better year for us. Car certainly much better at this stage in the season than last year at this time. But again, what about these two drivers?
Welcome to Melbourne for a weekend of fierce competition. We're a stone's throw from the beach here at the Albert Park circuit. It might be party mood in the grandstands, but in the paddock, expectations and tensions are high. The Albert Park circuit is bursting with rapid corners and a long straight where drivers can push their speed to the limits. Good attention to medium speed downforce will likely make beating this beast of a track just a little bit easier. We might still be early in the season, but that doesn't mean we can sit back and relax. Everything is up for grabs, and nothing is certain at this stage. What will happen this weekend?
Not worried about the ERS just yet, but it is time to start breaking in. The new engine, new gearbox, the second one of our set, as we're down into the mid-60s percentile on the engine, or low 70s on the engine and on those gearboxes. And we'll start using that first set for practice only, and then kind of continuing on with the others for now race only. They'll all be only race worn. We don't have to worry about practice any longer, and we have some used sets for that. So we still have that third set. We still have that new set for each car before we even have to start thinking about penalties. But I know we'll need to take penalties at some stage. So strategically thinking about when and where to do that this season will certainly be one of those keys. Getting a track where we can make some overtakes is certainly going to be important. Not wanting both cars to try to come through the pack, but have one comfortably up front and the other kind of making their way through, so you still have some decent points on the day, and then hope that you can get the other into a good enough position to get top 5 or something. I think my approach for this season and ultimately deciding when it is that I need to take on those engine penalties is going to come down to Q1. In Q1s this season, as I'm skipping through practice and then trying to get set up, tweaked right to get as much additional performance as you can get out of the car, we're looking at scenarios where what we'd like to see is a purple sector somewhere. Somehow we don't, but we go right towards the top of the standings with second and third place, just behind George Russell, just ahead of Max Verstappen. Such is our pace here at Albert Park. Now, what I was trying to say is somewhere, somehow, at some stage, this saves me tires. It's great. It's fantastic. We wait for the last run. Either I'm going to make a mistake myself and go too late and miss the cutoff. That happens. I'm not as worried about that cutoff, but somewhere one of them is going to run wide and mess up a lap. As a result, they're going to miss. They're not going to get out of Q1. It's going to be that easy. That's the one you take your penalty on. That's the one you switch to the new parts. Now, of course, we have to get into that third set at some stage, break it in, so that we can take that penalty. So maybe next race, we're going to intentionally use that third set just so we have that option available to us going forward for that, just in case somewhere, somehow, mistake. But my Q1s and Q2s, especially if our pace is like this after Q1, it's going to look a lot like this. Single runs, save those tires for future use in the race, especially because I'm not managing what's going on in practice, and I'm not necessarily getting the sets of tires that I need or want to have for the race coming out of practice. Though for the most part, it usually matches what I do 99% of the time, so I really don't think that part's much of a factor. But having those tires are always handy when it comes race time. You can find yourself in a scenario where that couple extra laps worth of tire life can make a real difference for you out on track when you're putting on a brand new set or a barely used set, and everybody else is having to go a bit deeper for that same time, same scenario, and now all of a sudden you've got an advantage that's making a real difference. And usually that's coming in the final laps of a race where that difference is going to matter more. Well, my tweak for Doohan got us an extra 20%. My tweak for Pourchaire left us exactly where we were. I only had 2 settings to change. One was pretty close to an edge. The other one was clearly off. So the one that was off went into the happy zone. The one that was pretty close to an edge, I went towards the opposite direction. It had a very wide range still to cover. And clearly the pretty close to the edge, well, wasn't close enough. The edge was clearly where I needed to be. But now that we're in Parc Fermé, there's not much more I can do for Pourchaire to help him out on this one. Now, the reason why in reality you would prefer to go out, get the banker lap, put in a really good time, and then sit out the second run is because if you don't get it right on that first one, you've got a second chance at it. The danger with doing that is the track is ramping up. The track's getting faster. So the second run is ultimately going to be faster. So waiting for the second run is better for your lap times, but it's more dangerous because you're not getting that banker lap in. And if you make a mistake, that's it. Now in game, as Verstappen goes quickest, Doohan, Pourchaire, and then Russell. Doohan puts in exact same time as Verstappen, it looks like, but is only sitting second place. And Pourchaire is 1/100th away as well. So we are very much in play for a potential pole in this race. Very much competing for that first or second row at the very least. But it's also less than half a second all the way down to 15th. And into Q3, where we're going to take that U set out there. We do want our 2 runs here. Verstappen is getting in our way, has blocked off Pourchaire. Takes 3/10 away from him, so Pourchaire does not get a clean run in. Doohan is only 3rd quickest. Pourchaire only 8th. But again, everybody else used their brand new set for that one. I took the U set. We'll still have a brand new one for the race. And as he starts his final flying lap of qualifying, Pourchaire certainly has more to do at this point after getting blocked in his first run. And Doohan, meanwhile, has a row 2 starting spot that he can, of course, improve upon as we have that brand new set of tires. But can we improve? He only needs 1/10 of a second. Both drivers are green in Sector 1. Neither purple, though. Purple Sector 2 for Pourchaire, though. Until Doohan takes it away from him. Doohan a little bit faster. Of course, he's got that advantage as the checkered flag waves, and we are already coming around towards the final turn here for Pourchaire. Down to P9 at the moment. You know he'll improve upon that, but how high does he get? Pourchaire crosses the line and goes pole! A full 1/10 of a second, but can Doohan take it away from him? He, of course, was purple in Sector 2. He was quicker. It's a front row lockout. Wow, Pourchaire is the one who puts in the masterclass, and Doohan on his own, though, puts it up there, and it's our first ever front row lockout, as far as I can tell. Verstappen and Leclerc on row 2. Bottas, Perez, row 3. Magnussen, Russell all the way down in P8. Did not get that first one run correct. I think he was blocked off much the same way I was, like Norris and Sainz. Norris and Sainz improved their time because of how badly they were blocked off, but everybody else, no one seemed to improve their time, except for my 2 drivers who saved the right compound, the right freshness of tires for the final run, and we get it right. We go top, breaking those laps down themselves. Pourchaire, you can see, had a slight advantage after Sector 1. In Sector 2, Doohan does go quickest. That was where we definitely gained a good chunk of time. We were a full 1/10 of a second faster than Max Verstappen through that sector. Well, we were also quicker in the first and third sector on that one run, but or at least I suppose on our overall fastest run. But while Doohan was faster, it was 1/1000th of a second faster. Pourchaire, Sector 3, apparently saved a little bit more for the end, a little bit more tire, though, I mean, they were both at 82% at that stage. But he was over a full tenth faster than doing on that final sector, and that really making the difference, as they were, almost neck and neck after the first two sectors that easily could have gone either way.
Welcome to race day, and before we get down to it, last minute checks are being made.
Seeing how they did in qualifying, Williams are going to be the team to watch here. They'll be starting strong at the top of the grid and will have many opportunities to steer the race in their favor. McLaren did a decent job during qualifying. This is a solid grid position, and it certainly has the potential to lead to good race results. And the sun is shining bright here today. This is perfect weather for teams and drivers alike to show us what they're capable of.
Exciting choices lie ahead then for the teams and their drivers here in Melbourne. So let's see what happens.
The preferred strategy appears to be a two-stop. The one-stop is something that I think drivers are going to certainly try, but it's going to be a good 10 seconds slower because of the drop-off is going to be pretty severe. That drop-off means we're going to probably have to overtake some cars, but there should be such a pace difference that it's pretty manageable, and therefore we're going to go for the safer, faster strategy, which is the two-stopper with a medium, hard, medium. We have fresh sets for all three of those, and that's good. Now we just got to go out there and execute and see two drivers run a clean race, because at this point they have the car capable. Can they get the job done, or will they be further down the order again?
It's sunny and bright as the drivers line up on the grid. Here's Williams. They're in P1. Let's see if they can take advantage of that position. And looking at the second Williams car, they're in second place on the grid, but that could so easily change in the first few seconds of the race. Everything's been building to this. Brace yourselves for the Australian Grand Prix. It's lights out and away we go.
Front row lockout. Can we hang on to it though? We've got first. Second is certainly being challenged. Doohan is able to pull ahead of Verstappen, and we now have that 1-2. We do not want to waste tires at this point. Let's see what the natural pace is like for the time being.
You can afford to drop back.
Let's go ahead and watch from Doohan's perspective, as you're going to get a little bit more of what's going on behind us. And wow, top three already starting to pull away. We are half a second to Leclerc already. Can we extend that, or is he going to close that back in? Looks like he's going to close that back in. So that was not just raw pace being that much better. That was a little bit of a mistake on a corner, as Doohan nearly challenges Pourchaire on that one. Of course, DRS is going to be a big boost. And you see Doohan once again challenging his teammate. I don't mind if they're swapping positions, but this obviously holds up their pace a bit. For now, as DRS is enabled,
DRS?
not a single car is out of DRS range of a car in front of them. We've run 2 laps, and not one car has fallen out of DRS range. That is how close this field is to one another. Giovinazzi might be at the very back. He might be in 20th place, but that does not mean he is slow. Ricardo has fallen out of range though, so that's the back 10 losing contact. Russell nearly out of DRS range, and that's an opportunity right there. Let's see what happens if we push with the race leader for a little bit. We know that Doohan will keep up with him just fine.
We look at reducing the lift and co.
We keep getting them out to 7 or 8 tenths, but then they get DRS and close it back down. Now, this, I was going to say this time, Bottas, we got out to 8 tenths, and it didn't really come down, but then it did. He's back down to 4 tenths. That's the thing. We stretch it, and then DRS pulls it back. Stretch it, DRS pulls it back. So we are not escaping bar Ricardo. So I think for now, go conservative again. Don't waste too much of a good thing here. Trying to open things up. I mean, we're a good 4 seconds away from Ricardo. That's clear. We have the pace to continue to stretch that one out. But until I see an opportunity where somebody actually is slipping back after they make a minor mistake or something, as Doohan momentarily gets by to the trailing group now. So we open up another second on that lap, even without pushing, even with battling each other most of that lap. Starting lap number 8, still awfully early. Our first pit stop, though, is going to come at lap 16. 16 is the planned lap. Of course, to execute that, we can't double stack, and they're both set to do that on lap 16, as Verstappen is being challenged by Leclerc at the moment. Drive away. And then Norris is now 4 tenths down, so he's again somehow closed it right back up. Russell 8 tenths, Magnussen 8 tenths. No, he's got DRS open. He's been over a second from the start-finish line all the way through here, and yet continually, now he's 3 tenths behind. We could just break toe to one of those 2-3 guys. It's going to start to make them drift back, and that's going to be a big thing going forward for us. A very beneficial thing to our race strategy, is we've got to get away from some guys, and right now we've only managed to get away from guys outside of the points. And nobody falls out of that range, or when they do, they just kept it in, apparently. As Porsche goes through, gets around Doohan can back off now. Pit window's already getting close, huh? Lap 13. Pit right now, you're coming out last place. That's how close the field still is. That's how close the field is in terms of competitive balance. The last place car is still less than a pit stop behind us, even with a fair amount of pushing that we've What is a clean pit stop? Well, this is going to be a clean pit stop. Somebody runs wide in Sector 3. Hopefully that backs off some cars behind us. That was the first mistake of the day. It's Ocon with the lockup. Way down the grid. He's in 18th, so it's really not impacting anybody. 2.622 as Porsche heads back out onto track. At the head of the field. Yes, he is. Yes, he is. Good. He's out ahead of those guys. And we've got a couple Haas cars between us and Verstappen. So we are now P8, P9 with 5.5 seconds of clear track ahead of us. We've got the 2 Haas cars between us and Verstappen. There is an opportunity there to open up a gap on our competitors, potentially, and you've got to be guessing at this point that the top 6 are probably going for that one-stop strategy. the detection zone, he was at 1.1, but he gets DRS anyway. At the detection zone. It's 1.3 right now. He's got DRS again. DRS again. And not within a second. 2 straight detection zones there. 2 straight detection zones. He gets DRS when not being in DRS range. Now he's at 1.4. 1.5. We are now also only 1.2 behind Ricciardo, Gasly, and Albon. So we've caught up to those guys. We are going to have to make our way past them here fairly soon. We have DRS here, but we're getting blocked off. 3 wide. Do we emerge at the front? We do.
And a new position just gained by Williams.
We do. Okay. Now, Doohan, meanwhile. Doohan has been harvesting. He can now use the overtake. He can now push because they did not pit. They stayed out. The both of them. So now it's Doohan's turn to try to make his way through this mess. Porsche into the race lead, by the way, as Gasly and Ricciardo more compared to the other guys. Looking like the one stopper is definitely their strategy. Maybe the others were trying to go medium, hard, soft. As Doohan makes his way past Ricciardo, now has Gasly in his sights.
And there's an overtake from Williams.
As Porsche, no, Porsche, come on. Gasly challenging you because of the DRS. And has gone past.
It's a race position gained for Mercedes.
Doohan has gone through on Porsche as well, so that DRS advantage is significant. Now we're battling each other once again, with Gasly being the one that we need to be making our way past, not the other way around. But they are on very different race strategies. With that one stopper, that pit stop that they've gained, we've overcome that, but if we drive away from them, then we don't have to worry about them later on if they only pit one more time. We still have to pit one more time as well. So getting a gap from them, getting away from them, having Leclerc and Verstappen closing them down, we want them to get hung up behind those guys and not behind us. So we'd still like to get away at this point. Three seconds to Gasly, so we've succeeded in that just in time too, because Leclerc has now brought it down to 1.5. So Leclerc and Bottas on their way up to those two, who will hopefully get held up for a while. We've got it out to 3.4 now, as those two cannot keep up with us on very used hard compound tires, and both dive off into the pits anyway. 0.6 is definitely not bad, but we've done a fair bit of pushing today. Verstappen and Leclerc battling each other. Of course, that DRS only for the tail one. Doohan, mother.
Let's take a look at the replay. Now we see the
Doohan
Williams here.
conserving. There was no aggression. He's driving neutral, and conserve. And Doohan locks up.
That's going to be a big blow.
All right, we're like right at the start-finish line. Doohan is going again. Porsche has retired. So from the race lead, from flawless race, Doohan has wiped him out. Safety car is coming out. Doohan needs to pit right now. And we're already down. We've already lost the lead from the mistake, so we were already down to third place by the time we're even heading for pit road. But we're going to serve the penalty. We're going to change the wing. That's an additional 10 seconds. This is going to knock us back a lot, but most of the field still has to pit one more time This will be our final pit stop.
We'll retire the car.
Ocon in the pits. Not sure who now. Yeah. You're telling your man, somebody's crashed. Who was it? Doing's on board as we are approaching the start-finish line. One final corner to get around here. And Doing hopefully can already get Stroll right here, straight off the bat, before turn 1. That's my goal. You know, or not. Or be conservative. There was no usage of gas there for a bit. Again, we have another easy overtake opportunity that we've bypassed. Less than a second behind, so as DRS is enabled, we'll close those guys down. And actually already more than a second ahead of Stroll. That'll be nice if top 12 pull away.
Let's close this gap.
Had 3 overtakes possible on that straight and ended up backing off and going behind everybody. But Guan Yu Zhou to the back of the group.
You can afford to drop back.
Yeah, copy that. Good job, good job.
Okay, so that's 1 overtake complete.
Increase the
Yes, Verstappen 10 seconds behind all the way to last place. We haven't done anything yet, and yet somehow we've gone through half of the battery. We haven't even made a single move forward. We haven't gained an inch, but we've used half the battery. We were conserving it all over the back of the gearbox. And we finally get forward ahead of 1. It's Gasly. I think this group is all trying to go the distance. So just how bad is the tire situation for some of them. Ricardo, we got around Gasly. He's one of the ones on the mediums. We're now worse off than they are, though, instead of better off than they are. But the hard compounds are all at 50%. We're at 50%. Our advantage isn't going to last too long.
low fuel, so be mindful of that.
Really? And can we even close it up? I mean, are we at a stage where that's even possible? Albon, more than a second behind, should be losing DRS. Which means we don't have to worry about what's going on behind us. Verstappen's only 11th out of the points entirely, though Russell does sit second. Perez does sit fourth. So right now we stand to still lose out again as a team in this race. Okay, we are closing these guys down now, but the fuel, the overtake, that's all really limited on what we can do. It's lap 53, though. It's so late in this race, we're down to 34% on these mediums, though. How we can overtake is going to be a tough ask. Gasly got around Albon, got enough of a boost that he picks up DRS. Here we go. Here we go. Come on. Come on. You can do it. You can do it. You can do it. Oh. Again, having to look up the inside, just not quite able to get that nose in there, especially with that 24%, I think. We just don't quite have the pace. We are so close. We are all over the back of Perez, and he's struggling to keep up with those guys. He seems vulnerable, but he's got DRS. And it's lap 57, and we are starting to fall into that you gotta let go territory. Last chance here. Last chance. If we can't get up on him now. And we're still on 0. We've got Perez beat. Final lap. Come on, Magnussen. Magnussen's our best hope for Red Bull losing some points today. And it's not looking good on that part. We are green. We are green. Balanced.
We think you can reduce lifting coast.
Copy.
Last chance of an overtake is right now. Under braking. Come on. Oh.
Full deploy. Copy.
Okay, we can push. Not going to happen, though. Russell's going to take the win. Magnussen second. Sainz third. Doohan's going to recover from 14th to 4th. But we had a 1-2. Wrapped up, locked up, easy. And we would have had one more stop to do. But the field wasn't bunched up. The safety car came from us. The only mistake of the day. Besides a couple lockups from a couple guys. I mean, okay, there was like 3 lockups all day. But the only one that was costly, the only one that did anything was Doohan. Wiping out his teammate. But at least recovers to 4th place. But it shows how strong the car was. It shows what can happen if we could just get these 2 drivers through. Porsche had a perfect day. But of course he never got a chance to finish that race. Before is 12 points. But Russell gets 25. Ferrari gets 10. We only get 2 points more than them. Verstappen on the last lap jumps from 11th to 9th, gets the fastest lap that he already had, and ends up picking up 3 points as well. So Red Bull actually get 28. Ouch, that hurt. So Porsche is 6th, Doohan is 8th in the championship now, and Red Bull leads. Ferrari is 2nd. McLaren still sits 3rd in the championship and actually gained 2 points on us. Long term, I'm not worried about them. We've had 3 really poor races out of 3. We really can't be screwing this up much more than we have been at this point. At least we pick up a few points over Ferrari today, and only lose 2 to McLaren, who are semi-irrelevant. They're competitive, but they are clearly 4th quickest. We are somewhere between that 1st and 2nd quickest depending on the track. Today we were absolutely quickest, but Doohan makes another mistake. And we've had one every race so far. We will have 1-2 finishes this season. We will have races where we gain substantially more points than others. But right now, we are looking really weak as defending champions. It'll get better, though. It'll get better. And I continue to pump points into them, hopefully making fewer mistakes. Doohan especially. Jeez. Come on, kid. That is going to do it for this episode, though. I'm Decathlon Gamer. Like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Have a good one. Be safe out there. And bye for now.